Okay, so just to remind you that this session will be recorded for some educational purposes. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so can you see now the screen? JV, can you see now the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so before we start our session for today, let me just give you some reminders on how to navigate or use this online platform, Zoom. So the first one, first reminder, so you have to use your full name on Zoom so that I can easily check your attendance. So this will serve as your attendance. And then for the second reminder, always keep your audio mute. This is to ensure that there will be no interruption during the class discussion. And then the last one, you can send your questions or comments via the Zoom chat. So I hope that everyone knows how to use the Zoom chat. Okay? So before we proceed to the lesson proper, do you have any questions? Kulili, do you have
None.
any? Okay. So let's now go to the next part. So today, we will be discussing something about communication, its nature, and the process. Okay. So for activity number one, this one is entitled Let's Pretend. So for the first activity, you will be pretending that it is the first day of school and you just saw your old friends. And what you have to do is you need to start a conversation. So let's start with you, Carl.
Good morning to everyone. Kamusta na kayo? JB,
Ito, okay lang. Sa bahay lang lagi, walang ginagawa.
gusto ka na dyan?
Boring kasi nasa loob lang ng bahay, walang ginagawa ikaw,
Ah.
Bido. Balita ko, nagbablog ka na.
Ang tataba nyo na.
Sky lang mataba.
Si Mami lang matap.
Nagkakataba na.
Si Mami lang tumataba.
Oy, nagpapasexy na si Mami. Nag-i-improve na si Mami.
Ikaw, Ben, balita, Ben. Birthday mo nakaraan, Ben, ha?
Kaya nga hindi mo
Kahapon.
lang nag-invite
Kahapon
eh.
pala. Hindi ka man lang invite. Ben, unmute ka, Ben.
Si Mika, kamustahin natin? Kasi malayo siya eh.
Mga Mika, buti nakaya mo Mika. Pinaka-join ka.
O Mika,
Ang galing-
kamusta na?
Nakamute din yata.
Galing naman ni
Mika.
Mika.
Nakamute yata si Nikki.
Ayan na si Mika. O Mika, kamusta na?
Okay naman, gumaganda na siya.
Sana all.
Sir, pumapogi ka ah.
Matagal na.
Ang power na.
Okay, so that's it for activity number one. So you may now mute again yourselves. So I have here some questions for you. So let's have the first question. So first question, how did you start the conversation? Let's start with Carl. How did you start the conversation? Carl?
Sir, namatay po sa cellphone ni Carl.
Oh, JV.
Sir, una sir, nangangamusta kung kamusta yung buhay nila ngayong pandemic.
Okay.
And
So, Carl asked a question.
yes, sir.
So, the first thing he did is he asked a question. And how did the other people respond to the question? Or how did you respond to the question? Mika.
Sir, answering the question.
So you answer the question. So first you comprehend the question, and then by comprehending that, or you process the question, and then you respond to the question. So Carl, Kulili, please read what communication is all about.
Communication is the process of sharing and conveying messages or information from one person to another within and across channels, context, media, and cultures. McCornack 2014.
So that is according to McCornack 2014. So according to him, communication is a process. So when we communicate, we share information. And that's the main purpose of communication. We would like to share, or we want to share something. Okay? So when we communicate, we do that in different ways. So in this pandemic, we actually communicate now through the use of online platforms. So just like what we are doing now. And that is to avoid physical contact. Okay? So let's take a look at this one. So for the nature, we have here, for the nature of communication, the first one is, it is a process. So why do you think communication is a process?
I think
Montero,
Because
why do you think communication is a process? Yes, Theodore.
they have a sender and receiver, sir.
Because there is a sender and a receiver. So once we send a message, so we are expecting something in return. Next. Communication happens between two or more people, the speaker and then the receiver. And then the last one, communication can be expressed through written or spoken words, actions, nonverbal, or both spoken words and nonverbal actions at the same time. Actually, when we are doing communication online, it's quite difficult to do both verbal and nonverbal. Do you agree on that? Carl, do you agree on that? That communication...
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because sometimes, especially if we cannot see the person we are talking with, we cannot see the nonverbal actions. Okay, so do you have any questions so far about communication and its nature?
None, sir.
Okay, so let's now go to the next part.
Hello everybody. Today we will be talking about the communication process. It's a fairly simple, basic component process. You have the sender, one who uses verbal and nonverbal means to initiate communication. They have a message, the verbal or nonverbal expression of a sender's purpose, and there's a receiver, the target of the sender's communication. They can be a listener, an observer, or both. But what's wrong with this model? We have a sender, a message, and a receiver. The problem is we don't often communicate in such a unidirectional manner, a one-way version of communication. A more complete picture looks something like this. We have a sender, but they pick up the dual role of receiver as well, and we'll get back to that in a second. So as a sender, they send their message, as in the more simple version of the model, and they send it to a receiver, but you'll notice here that the receiver has also picked up a secondary role. They are a sender as well. What do they send? They send feedback. Feedback is the response of the receiver to the sender's message, which tells the sender how the message was received. Gets back to the sender, as we said. So to illustrate this a little bit, imagine the sender receiver says hello, the message hello, to the receiver sender. Receiver sender can provide feedback, a smile, a verbal answer of hello as well, and the sender receiver knows that their original hello message was received correctly. Now it's not always that simple, and it doesn't always work as smoothly. there's more to the process. The sender needs to encode their message. The sender-receiver encodes their message, and the receiver-sender encodes their feedback. When I choose to say hello or smile, I need to encode it in such a way that it is very likely it will be received correctly. Also, though, on the receiver end, the sender-receiver and the receiver-sender as well, they need to be able to code that message correctly as well. So you may be asking, what is encoding and decoding? Encoding is the sender's selection of the means of expression. How do I shape that smile? What kind of tone do I put into my hello? Right, those are the ways I encode. Decoding is how the receiver gives meaning to the message through their own perception. Now, decoding can be pretty simple, but some things can get in the way. They can get in the way of encoding and decoding, but decoding is the one that can be hit the hardest. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about interference. Interference is anything that disrupts or prevents a receiver's interpretation of a sender's message as the sender intended it. So maybe I'm not feeling very well today, and my smile doesn't quite form the way I want it to. Maybe I unintentionally color my hello with what the receiver decodes as sarcasm, so that they think I'm not glad to see them. They'll feed back with maybe a puzzled expression, right? And I'll get that message and understand that feedback message and understand that I maybe need to reiterate my message to ensure proper communication. Again, it gets even a little more complicated if we add in the idea of context. Context brings in even more potential interference. Context is the physical, social, psychological, and time elements in which the communication takes place. How can this affect the message? Well, if a person has just had a bad day and I come in and I say hello, they might not be in the best place physically, psychologically, or socially to receive my message in the way I intended. That is the basic communication process.
Let's take a look again of the basic components of communication. So first, we have the sender. Second, we have the message. And then we have the receiver. And this one is the classic model of Aristotle, wherein in this model, there is no feedback at all. But as time goes by, experts in the field of communication developed a more complex model, just like what was mentioned in the video. So let's take a look at a more complex communication process. So first, we have the sender, who will also act later on as a receiver. Then the sender will now encode the message. And then after sending the message, the encoded message will be decoded by the receiver, who will later on act as a sender as well. And then after decoding the message by the receiver will now act as a sender, and then he or she now will encode the feedback. And then after sending this feedback, the sender receiver will now decode this feedback. And then it will become a process. Okay? However, there are times that we are experiencing interference or barriers. And that is one of the elements as well of communication process. Moreover, interference or barriers will be depending on which context where we are. Like in our online platform, we are experiencing internet connection problem, which is one of the barriers or interference that we are experiencing. So let's try to answer the following questions. So I only have 3 questions. So first question, anyone can unmute themselves or yourself and then try to answer the question. First question, what creates effective communication? Carl.
Sir, a creative or effective communication can have a good communication to each other.
So you are saying that we can achieve effective communication if we can understand each other.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how about the others? Anyone? Montero.
Um, uh, 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 what is the question, sir?
What creates effective communication?
Um, we can create effective communication if the both sender or receiver are active in listening to each
Oh.
other.
Okay, that one is good. So we can achieve effective communication if the two people can actually, or if the two persons can actually understand the message that they are sending to each other. Okay? And number two, what causes miscommunication? What causes miscommunication or misunderstanding?
Sir, I think in the video that we have been watched, uh, the interference or the barriers like noise or etc. can affect the communications of the sender and the receiver.
Okay.
It may cause
So
misunderstanding.
okay, so based on the model, it is the interference or the barriers which causes miscommunication, and that is right. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And then the last question, how does communication affect relationships? Let's hear it from Royo. How does communication affect relationships?
Sir, yung communication kasi na-effect niya yung relationship. Yung sender tsaka receiver, ano, nag, yung receiver, yung sender na nagbigay ng message na yung receiver, nagagawa niya mag-feedback. Doon po, yung relationship, yung pag-usap nila, communication, nagiging effective.
Okay, nice try, Royo. How about Theodore? How does communication affect relationship, Theodore? Please, okay, I will unmute you. Okay na, Theodore.
When the sender and receiver, sir, wait lang, sir.
How does communication affect relationships? Okay, I'll get back to you.
Wait lang, sir.
Sir, can you answer?
Wait. Please mute your mic, Theodore. Okay, so let's hear it from Mika. Mika.
Sir, I think sir kapag meron kang pag meron kayong magandang communication, mas mapapatatag yung yung relationship. Katulad na lang sir sa magjowa, kapag meron pong magandang communication, yun sir, magiging mas matatag yung relationship.
You will have a strong relationship if you have a good communication with your partner. How about Carl Colili? How does communication affect relationships? Based on your
For me,
experience.
sir, dalawa po siya eh. Pwedeng positive or negative. Pag isa sa positive, nagkakaroon ng strong relationship kasi syempre nagkakaroon kayo ng maayos na conversation. Pag negative naman, medyo nagkakaroon ng hindi pagkakaintindihan dahil nga din sa mga barriers na meron sa paligid natin every time nagkakaroon tayo ng conversation sa isang tao.
Okay. So thank you for that. Yeah, actually in a relationship, it's a matter of give and take. So we need to know when it is already our turn. So it's turn taking in communication process. Okay, so do you have any questions? If you have any questions, And if you do not like to speak or to unmute, you may send it in the chat box.
None,
If
sir.
not, okay. So far, no question. So I have here activity number 5, which I called Let's Have a Conversation. So let's try to answer question number 1. So how was your enhanced community quarantine or ECQ? Carl, how was it? Was it boring or just the same? Just like the old times? Fyodor.
Sir, sir, mahirap sir kasi 'di ba nga hindi tayo nakakalabas, hindi natin nakakasama yung mga kaibigan natin ngayon. Boring sir, ganun.
So it's quite boring. Okay.
Yes, sir.
How about the others? Amika.
Sir, it's good.
So it's quite good. Okay. Yeah. I think you spent your ECQ well. So thank you for that, Mika. How about JV?
Sir, it's good, sir.
But I heard a while ago that you mentioned na wala kang ginagawa.
Sir, boring. Minsan, sir, may ginagawa ko minsan nalilibang ko yung sarili ko. Pero minsan, pag wala akong ginagawa, doon nang taga ka naboboring, sir.
Okay.
Lang, wala akong
Okay. So thank you for that, JV. Next. How about Montero? How was your ECQ?
For me, sir, it's fine because I can spend a lot of time with my cousins, my niece, nephews. That's all, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were able to have a bonding with your family.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you for that, Montero. Next,
Sir.
let's try number 2. So what are the things you did during the ECQ?
Sir,
Carl.
the things that I did on ECQ time, I think I spend a lot of time with my family. And then I also enhance my talent, like drawing, like painting, and that's awesome.
So you were able to have a bonding at the same time, bonding with your parents at the same time. You were able to practice your skills.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Okay, I think that's good. How about the others? Carl Kulili, what are the things you did
Sir,
during the ECQ?
I did spending my time with my family and yun, nagpaka-busy po kami na construction worker kami ni Papa. Ayun.
So you had a work.
Yes po.
Okay. Thank you for that, Carl. How about... I think everyone already answered. And then, next question or last question. What are your realizations in life during the quarantine? Were you able to have realizations in life during the quarantine?
Sir, yes, sir.
What are your realizations in life, Carl?
I realized that we should have time for
I'll get back to you, Carl, later. Montero.
The realization is I realized that we need to value our life more kasi hindi natin alam kung bukas mamamatay na tayo, lalong-lalo na ngayon na may COVID. Ayun, sir.
Okay. So you were able to realize how life important is. Okay. So I think we should also see the value of life because life is too short, especially in this COVID-19 pandemic. So let's now do the next. Uh, okay. So this activity, I'll be posting this in our group chat or in our on our Facebook group, and I'll just be including there when you will be submitting this activity. So I have your activity number 6, activity number 7, and then activity number 8. I'll just be posting the deadline on our group chat, and you can do it on your own pace. Okay? So do you have any questions? I'll be posting the details on our group chat. Okay? So any questions?
None po, sir.
We have here a true or false activity. So this one is a 5-item assessment. So once I called your name, please read the statement and try to answer the statement if it is true or false. Okay. So number 1, let's hear it from Montero.
Number 1, communication is a process of sharing and conveying message and information. Yes, sir, true.
So number 1, your answer is true. Later on, we will check that.
Yes.
Kindly type in the chat box your answer, Montero. Number 1, your answer is true. Next, number 2. Mika, number 2.
Number 2, receiver is the source of information or message. False, sir.
So
False.
your answer is false.
False.
So for number 1, the answer of Montero is true. For number 2, Mika, your answer is false. How about number 3? Kulili, number 3. Kulili, number 3. Number 3.
Speaker is the recipient of the message or someone who decodes the message. False po, sir. False po, sir.
So number 3 is false. Your answer is false. Okay. Next number. It's okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Number 4. How about JV, number 4?
Message is the information, ideas, or through conveying by the speaker in word or in action. Third, true.
So your answer for 4 is true. How about number 5? Carl.
Feedback is the reactions, responses.
Again, Carl. Number 5.
Feedback is the reaction, responses, or information provided by the receiver. It's true, sir.
So your answer for number 5 is true. So let's take a look if your answers are all correct. Okay. So number 1 is true. Number 2 is false. 3 is false. 4 and 5 are true. Okay. So do you have any questions? Anyone who has a question?
Answer.
Okay. So again, I will be posting the 3 remaining activities on our group chat, and I'll be posting as well all the details, including the deadline of submission.